Alright, so in this lesson, we are going to be learning about number lines. And a number line is a great tool for us to visualize numbers. We can use the number lines to learn patterns. We can use number lines to help us with our multiplication, our addition, subtraction, division. Number lines are a great way to help us visualize numbers and to see where how they line up and how to compare and contrast numbers. So to begin, I just want to review what a line is, going back to geometry. Because remember, a line, it's a straight continuous path that is never ending, and the same holds true for a number line. If we create a number line, that number line can go on and on and on forever and keep counting any number up to the highest number you can think and imaginable. Okay, so we just have to remember that a line is that straight path that's never ending. And a number line is pretty much the same thing. So let's take a look at this next slide and let's look at some number lines. So number lines, like this first one up here, they can start at 0. Notice how they have the arrows because our lines keep going on in both directions. Even number lines keep going on in both directions forever and ever. Okay. So number lines, they can start at 0 and they can increase by one digit. 1, 2, 3. This would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And it can increase by 1 the whole length of that number line. And number lines will always continue in the same pattern. So for this number line, this top number line up here, it's always going to increase in between each of these points by 1. That will never change. Number lines will always the distance between each line will always stay the same. So for instance, like I said, this top number line, it increases by 1 in between each of its points, in between each of these lines here, all the way up to 11. And this arrow represents that if we kept going, you can continue this pattern on and on and on forever, and it would always increase like that. If you look at the second number line, the pattern and the numbers that this number line is representing increases by 10. So you have 0, and then the first line would be 10. And so remember, every gap, every distance increases on a number line by the same pattern. So if that first one is 10, then it would just increase by 10 at each one. So 20, 30, all the way up through this number line until it gets to 110. And so number lines, you got to figure out the pattern that they show. And they can start at 0, or they can start anywhere. They can start at, maybe 55, and then all of a sudden you got 60, 65, 70. So in this case, this number line started all the way up at 55, but the pattern, the distance in between each of these points increases by 5. And that would continue on this whole entire number line. So number lines can help us visualize patterns. Once you find out what distance they're increasing by in between the 2 points on that number line. The same holds true for this. Let's say I started here at 22, and then I increased by 24, 28, 32. If you look back at this number line, you could actually figure out these missing numbers because you know the distance between these two is increasing by 2. So then the distance between these two must increase by 2. So 24 plus 2 would be 26. 28 plus 2 would be 30. Or if you look at it this way, 32 minus 2 would be 30. So once you find the pattern on a number line, you can easily fill in any blank or missing numbers because, like I said, every distance is going to be the same on the number line once you figure out what that pattern is. And that's basically number lines. And we use these to look at patterns. We use them to help us add and subtract, to multiply, to organize data, which we'll learn in a little bit. all sorts of things on number lines. The key point in number lines to know is two things. One, they help us to visualize the number. So if we're looking at, let's say, like we want to practice rounding, and we want to practice rounding to the nearest 10, and we have 10 here. And we have 20 down here, okay? This number line helps us visualize, okay? Let's say we're trying to round the number 16. We can say, oh, 16, you can visualize that it's closer to 20, so 16 would round up to 20. So number lines help us to visualize where numbers are and what they look like compared to other numbers. And they also help us to organize numbers and find patterns and so on. All right, thanks.